Make sure to subscribe today and make sure you like and make sure you leave your comments and ideas. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, today I want to talk about the illusion, the hoax of the Salafi Sufi divide and everything in between, right? Because, I've talked before the difference between the word aqidah, which is a certain group's view of what is the reality of the unseen and what they hold to be true, versus the word iman, which is the Quranic term. And what Islam requires us to do is believe in the term of iman and the articles of iman, right? And in the same way, I have talked about how aqidat al-tahawiyya and aqidat al-wasatiyya, how the books of the Ashariya and the people who follow Sheikh Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, the differences are so slight that it is not even it does not diffuse anyone's iman in any whatsoever when you actually look at the texts. In the same way, I talked about what are the true scholars, what are the true fuqaha, what is their attitude, and what is their work, and what is their job, compared to what we are doing, because we get caught in this trap, in this Salafi Sufi trap, you can say. And so today I want to demonstrate this thing. And so please, if you have never heard what I'm about to say before, please think about it with an open mind, because you need an open mind to open your mind. And so I want to and over here I want to say that this whole Salafi Sufi divide is part of the agenda, as I showed in the Rand report in one of my talks, that this is one of the agendas that they have to shut down the real debate that Muslims need to be having, the real discussion Muslims need to be having. Now, when we talk about the Salafi and the Sufi divide, we are talking about basically, you can say, two gigantic personalities who we think would not get along, and these two gigantic personalities are Imam Ghazali and Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. They would have obviously nothing in common, right? Or they would have very little in common, or they would severely disagree with each other, is our normal state of thinking about these two personalities. May Allah have mercy upon them. Imam Ghazali comes from a tradition where, and this is important because the background is important, Muslims had an empire. Muslims were close to a decline, but not yet to decline. And one of the ways to help the ummah is by a process called Islah. Islah is a type of reforming people to their original state, but it's done internally. You try to fix things internally, and Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, because he was there when the Mongols were there, Islam was completely decimated, and instead of just using the process of Islah, he also used the process of Tajdeed, which is a complete renewal, right? And so you can say the Salafi Sufi divide it really needs to be understood in a different way, which I'm going to explain today. Okay, so let's get started, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, very quickly. Were Imam Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah so different after all? I remember, unfortunately, I never got the book, but I remember when I was in Egypt, there was one author, I don't know his name anymore, because this is like more than 20 years ago. But when I was in Egypt, I remember a Muslim brother had written a book on the common opinions, the common ideas between Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam Ghazali. And these were both geniuses and genius people, and they both had a lot of common ideas. And so, I will talk about Uthman Danfolio in a second. I think I need to move that slide over to a different place. So, the day two scholar slapped me. Again, he's talking about great people like Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam Ghazali. Imam Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah on fanaticism. I'm going to give you two examples. One that is not here, I'm just going to verbally mention it. and one, the example of fanaticism, right? And, because there's a lot of takfir going on, and we don't consider the other side to be really true Muslims. So Imam Ghazali writes, if you see a scholar declaring others infidels and misguided, and I see so many youth, on the internet, everyone's just misguided. It's just this anger, right? It's not authentic. It's not the place of peace and quiet and tranquility and wisdom. If you see a scholar declaring others infidels and misguided, shun him. Do not busy your heart or your tongue with him. The problem is we've been affected by these people so much that we act like these people. Provocations and knowledge are undoubtedly from people's nature, and the ignorant one is unable to exercise patience with them. And due to this, differences have multiplied amongst people. He's talking about his time. Now imagine our time. If knowledge was forcefully taken from the ignorant, then differences would subside. Okay. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah says, rahmatullah alayhi, on Imam Ghazali and in Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, I heard our Shiekh Ibn Taymiyyah, one of his students writes, Dahabi writes, say towards the end of his life, I will never declare anyone from the people of the Qibla, and there's a hadith that he's referring to actually here, I will never declare anyone from the people of the Qibla as an infidel. Okay, and we may not say others are infidels or other people are kafir, but we come pretty close a lot of times. Oh, that person has nothing to do with Islam. Or that person, what is that person? That person's not authentic. Or that person's not on the manhaj. Or we're all eating the same halal food. We're praying towards the same qibla. We all say the same shahada. We all read the same Quran. But yet, that person is not your brother. You won't say salams to him, because of the effect of this illusionary Salafi Sufi divide. And there is ta'assub. Both the people of Tasawwuf and Sufism has ta'assub towards the Salafi brothers, but the Salafi brothers really have ta'assub. They think they are, they got it so much more made than the Sufi brothers. And it's just not true. And I'm going to show you every major scholar, including Abdul Wahhab, whatever opinion you have of Abdul Wahhab, he was used by the British or he was used by the Saud, whether he had good intentions or bad intentions, regardless, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, Imam Ghazali, Shah Waliullah, you take any great scholar, you will find that they were a mixture of the Salafi Sufi, and you will also find that their teachers go back to the same people. Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab's teacher was a Sufi, a Sindhi. You can look this up. A Sindhi's teacher was Az-Zabidi. Az-Zabidi's teacher was Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Dilbi rahmatullah alayh. But you also find what? Shah Waliullah teaching Az-Zabidi teaching As-Sindhi. As-Sindhi taught Omar Jibreel, who taught Uthman Danfolio and brought the great Khilafah movement in Africa. And he was a person of Tasawwuf, Sufi. But what happens is there is a great scholar and he has 10 things to talk about. So let's say he can talk about Islamic eschatology, and he can talk about tafsir, and he can talk about, and different people pick on different aspects of that scholar. And so then they get, this Sufi Salafi divide did not exist till the 19th century. This Sufi Salafi divide, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah belonged to a Sufi group. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab praised a lot of the Sufis. So did Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. And then when you think about Imam Ghazali, you're thinking, oh, he's a person, oh, you must be like a Sufi. No, that's not the point. The point is what you think a Sufi is not what a Sufi is. Or I don't even like the word Sufi, actually. I like the word Tasawwuf, a person who deals with the science of the heart. For example, what would you think that Imam Ghazali said about jihad? What would you think he said? Right? What do you think Imam Ghazali said about jihad? Do you think that he thought it was mandatory, or he thought it was just optional? It's good if you do it, but I'll show you what he thought. And he has a stronger opinion than you can even ever imagine. So, here we are. Now, Imam Ghazali plus Imam Ibn Taymiyyah equal Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi rahmatullah alayh. I'm going to tell you why I'm pointing this out. Because Shah Waliullah is that person who translated the Quran for the first time in a different language, and that's where it became popular. In the beginning, all the fatwas were against him, but let me just read this to you so you begin to understand not only how great of a scholar Shah Waliullah is, but I'm trying to deal with this hoax of the Sufi Salafi divide. A great civilization must have resilience to renew itself from within. And the thing is that a part of the division, it's not the part of the difference is how you see this renewal of the ummah. Is it through islah of the individual, or is it by a tajdeed, a renewal, renewing? So remember these words, islah or tajdeed. A great civilization must have resilience. Must have resilience to renew itself from within. It is what distinguishes a civilization from mere dynasty. Islamic civilization has demonstrated time and again its innate capacity for renewal after every disaster. The death of the Prophet ﷺ was the first great trial. Now, I don't agree with his chronological order because I think there are more, but it's generally true. The second major challenge was that of the ideas of the Greece and India, and the Islamic world internalized these ideas, developed them, and after a period of tribulation by the Mu'tazilite ideas, they were a challenge for the Muslims. And this is where Abu Musa Ash'ari came in, and others like Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. The challenge of the Greek, okay, that was there. The challenge of the Greek ideas ended with the eloquent defense of Imam Ghazali. When Imam Ghazali wrote the book Tahafatul Falasifa, the Greek philosophy just vanished into thin air. Islam overcame that challenge through its inner resilience embodied in tasawwuf. This is a fact. No one can deny this. The fourth challenge came, but what he's missing here is the challenge that Imam Ibn Taymiyyah dealt with, which was the Mongols. Okay? And then the fifth challenge was from Europe, which we are currently dealing with. And the number one thing that the greatest scholar of the 12th century, Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi, who's the teacher of both the Salafis and the Sufis. Let me repeat this. Shah Waliullah is the teacher of the Salafis and the Sufis. How? He is the teacher of the Salafis because he's the grand teacher of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. And Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab's teacher, As-Sindi, was a Sufi, his main teacher. And before As-Sindi, everyone had rejected him as a student, but that's a whole different issue I'm not going to go into right now. But As-Sindi was a Sufi. But Shah Waliullah was not just a Sufi. He was also he was not also 100% for taqleed either, just follow one mazhab. He was open to doing ijtihad. But he believed that if you don't know the deen, if you don't know the dala'il, then you should follow a mazhab. This was his opinion. Okay? Now, Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi was the teacher of the Salafis because you also have every person, when he's a new Muslim, the Salafi brothers give you the book Taqwiyatul Iman. Shah Ismail Shahid, the grandson of Shah Waliullah's book, grandson of Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi, because he's considered one of the teachers of the quote unquote Wahhabi movement, which is a term I really don't like. But my point is not to be towards Sufi or towards the Salafi, because what I'm saying is this is a hoax, and what I'm saying is that both were actually merged together in the great ones, like Imam Ghazali, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, and Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi, which I'm going to show you. So, what is the difference? The difference is that one essentially looked at how to solve the problems through Islah, inner reform. And the other looked at how to solve the problem by bringing the Sharia, by changing the outer things. If you change the outside, that's what needs to be done. We need to renew and rebuild the outside. And the other side, Islah, was to rebuild the inside. So what did Shah Waliullah do? Mughal rulers to give up their corrupt and inefficient practices. Soldiers to inculcate within them the spirit of jihad. Artisans, workers, and peasants to remind them that the economic prosperity of the state depended on laborers. The emperor asking him to teach a lesson to the Jats strengthening the Mughal Empire. These were Hindus. He also wrote and advised them not to give land to the people who were not loyal. Okay, masses to be conscious of their duties and not to indulge in the accumulation of wealth. So this is some things that Shah Waliullah did, but the greatest thing that he did was to translate the Quran. Now, one of the grand students of Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi, how Islam went into Africa, and particularly the Sufi, or I like the word tasawwuf, Islam went there. Uthman Danfolio learned the Quran in Arabic language while traveling to further pursue his studies. He studied under Sheikh Jibreel bin Omar in the land of Tawarik. Sheikh Jibreel directed his attention to serious study of the Quran and Sunnah. Previous to that, Sheikh Jibreel made pilgrimage and was greatly influenced by the followers of Ibn Abdul Wahhab in Mecca. But he was actually studying under a Sindhi who was the teacher of Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, and he was, interestingly enough, a Sindhi he was a Sufi who didn't follow any mazhab. Okay, a little bit different than Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi's opinion, but he was a Sufi who believed in not following any mazhab, just follow Quran and Sunnah. So let me also read this to you. Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi, he is from the Chishti Silsila. Okay, that's just what he is. He wrote books in 6 categories. The first deals with the Holy Quran. It includes his translation of the Holy Book into Persian. He was the first one to translate Quran, and all the translations we have in the world are because of the works of Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi, just so you know. So imagine his greatness, right? The literary language of the subcontinent of those times. According to him, the object of studying the book is to reform human nature, to correct the wrong beliefs. Remember this. The purpose of the book is to reform the human nature and correct the wrong beliefs and injurious actions. The second category deals with hadith, in which he has left behind several works, including in Arabic and Persian commentaries on Muwatta, a well-known collection of the traditions of the Prophet ﷺ compiled by Imam Malik. He attached great importance to this collection of traditions by Imam Malik, even greater than those of Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. Okay? And so, he attached great importance to these collections of traditions by Imam Malik, even greater than Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. He was an outstanding muhaddis. This is why he's called Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi is what he's called. He's called a muhaddis. An outstanding muhaddith, and the links of all modern scholars of hadith in the Indian subcontinent may be traced to him, not only Indian subcontinent, but Africa, and also many parts of the Arab world. He had the greatest amount of influence. Foremost among these modern traditionalists was his son and successor Shah Abdul Aziz, okay, and Sayyid Murtaza. Shah Waliullah wrote a number of books and pamphlets dealing with hadith. The third category deals with fiqh or Islamic jurisprudence, which includes Insaf fil Bayan Isbab Ikhtilaf, which is a brief but very interesting and informative history of Islamic jurisprudence of the last 5 centuries. The fourth category deals with his works dealing with mysticism, meaning tasawwuf. Okay. The fifth category pertains on his works of Muslim philosophy and ilm al-kalam. He wrote a pamphlet on the principles of ijtihad and taqlid. In his principle of the ijtihad, he clarifies whether it is obligatory for a Muslim to adhere to one of the 4 schools of Islamic jurisprudence, or whether it is obligatory for a Muslim to adhere to one of the 4 schools of Islamic jurisprudence, or whether he can exercise his own judgment. In the opinion of Shah Waliullah, a layman should rigidly follow his own imam, but a man well versed in Islamic law can exercise his own judgment and should be in conformity with conformity of the practice of the Prophet ﷺ. The most outstanding of all his works, Hujjatullahi Baligha, which deals with such aspects of Islam, are common among all Muslim countries. In its introduction, he observes, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you get the point. Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi, this person, He is, and you know, those people who are against Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, they even blame Shawlullah because they will say that, you know, he was their grand teacher. And Shawlullah Muhaddis Delmi essentially believed in Islah as well as Tajdeed. To reform Muslims in whatever state they are, try to make them better at whatever state they are, make them a little better. And then there are those who say, no, we need to wipe the clean slate, start something new. Right? So essentially where the Sufi Salafi divide comes from is this exact, one of the major elements of that is this exact point. Now, I'm not going to go over some of the principles that he believed in right now, social principles. Now, Imam Ghazali, like Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, both of them spent, because I'm saying Imam Ghazali plus Imam Ibn Taymiyyah equals Shawlullah. Okay? So Imam Ghazali, like Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, spent a lot of his time debating and refuting the Shias. Okay? Just keep this in mind. And it says here, Imam Ghazali's efforts in defeating the Batini Shiats, one of the beneficial effects of the Nazmi school was that they paved the way for Sunni mazhab to prevail. The Fatimid Empire, which was in Egypt, was prevailing and taking over the Muslim world. And it was the works of Imam Ghazali that not only shut off the Greek works that I was talking about, the philosophy of the Greeks went to zero after he wrote his book, Tahafutul Falasifa, but his works against the Shias also shut them down. So now you'll see here that it's not about so this is an example of Islah, which Imam Ibn Taymiyyah did too. But Imam Ibn Taymiyyah did things that were more closer to Tajdeed, political reform, trying to revive the Ummah, trying to revive the physical aspect of the Ummah because it had all crumbled by the Mongols. So over here, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah writes about Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jalani, who was his, you can say, spiritual teacher from his family. Okay? So let me just read this. I wore the blessed cloak of Abdul Qadir, there being between him and me too. Ibn Taymiyyah was quoted by Yusuf Ibn al-Hadi confirming his Sufi affiliation in more than one Sufi order. We have the Sufi cloth of a number of sheikhs belonging to various tariqas, groups. Among them Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jalani, whose tariqa is the greatest of well-known ones. He further continues, the greatest tariqa is that of my master, Abdul Qadir al-Jalani. Okay? Now, what happens is, who reads Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jalani? The Sufis read him? Of course, we all know that. But do you know what? I'm going to tell you something about myself I've never told you. I started my early studies of Islam in the Salafi Madaris. You know who they teach there? Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jalani's writings about Tawheed. Same teacher, but both groups have it. There's no, I mean, I've been through all this. And if you read the works of any of these great scholars, the great scholars had both of these attributes. Both inclined towards internal reform, looking at their heart, internal pondering, finding itminan, finding tranquility through adhkar and through Quran, but also wanting to change the outside world. It wasn't one or the other. I don't know why people think it has to be one or the other. And we've fallen into this hoax. You think Imam Ghazali is going to be helped, the people that are going to help him are not going to be internally reformed? That they're not going to be people of extreme sabr, the extreme patience and extreme gratitude to Allah no matter what happens? Right? So the point here is, again, not Salafi or Sufi. Okay, Imam Ghazali, what does he say about jihad? One must go on jihad at least once a year. One may use a catapult against them when they are in a fortress, or even if among them are women and children. This is what Imam Ghazali says. Okay? I don't need to go. If there's a war and you're at a fortress, well, you got to do what you got to do to break the fortress. Look at what they do at Iraq and Afghanistan. Collateral damage there is accepted. And Imam Ghazali, in his wisdom, is saying the same thing. I'm not calling towards jihad. I'm just saying that what this person had an opinion. He was a Sufi, but you would never think he would say, what? One must go on jihad at least once a year. Can you imagine him saying that? Even though his focus was more internal. But he believed in external change too. It was from the schools of Imam Ghazali. Who came from that school? Salahuddin Ayyubi. Okay? So, now, Sheikh Abdul Wahhab, what does he say about the Sufis? We do not negate the way of the Sufis and the purification of the inner self from the vices of those sins connected to the heart and the limbs, as long as the individual firmly adheres to the rules of the Sharia in the correct and observed way. His teacher was a Sufi. I mentioned this, as-Sindi. However, we will not take it on ourselves to allegorically interpret his speech and his actions. We only place our reliance on help, seek help from, beseech aid from, and place our confidence in all our dealings in Allah Most High. He is enough for us, the best trustee, the best Mawla, the best helper. Okay, let me just share with you if I have some more notes here. No, may Allah have mercy on you. Religion revolves around these 4 sentences in the spirit of their brevity. In this, regardless of whether the speaker is speaking regarding the science of tafsir, science of usul of fiqh, science of the deeds of the heart, okay, which is well known as the science of suluk, the science of hadith, the science that which is permissible and impermissible, and the ihkam, which is known as the science of fiqh, or regarding the knowledge of the rewards and punishments that aspire from good and bad deeds, or regarding any other religious science apart from these. Okay, so even because this, we are the ones who have fallen into this illusion that it has to either be Salafi or Sufi. I've had, I'll tell you, Dr. Isra Ahmed, Sheikh Imran Hussein, these are not Salafi or Sufis. These are Salafi Sufis. These are people that have taken the Salafi Sufi, the best of both, and tried to merge it into themselves. Okay, when it is the case that among those who affiliate themselves to religion, they are those who focus on knowledge and fiqh and speak regarding it, such as jurists, and those who focus on worship and the quest for the hereafter, such as the Sufis, then Allah has sent His Prophet with this all-inclusive religion for 2 reasons. Who's saying this? Muhammad. Whatever opinion you have of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, this is what he says. You gotta have the external, but you gotta have the internal. Okay? And so you gotta have the Musa and the Khidr combined into one. Majma' al-Bahr, where both the oceans meet. So I want to remind you, if you still haven't liked or shared or subscribed to my video, please do so. And please share this, because I think more people know. This is now a website that is speaking against Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi rahmatullahi alayh and trying to link. This is Shah Waliullah here, and this is Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab here, and trying to link the link between Shah Waliullah to Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab to the Salafi jihadists, and how this whole link is this person wrote a paper on this. So I'm not interested in that, but that's what he did. What is the thing that's common between Imam Ghazali and Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delvi? What is it that allowed them to merge both of these oceans together? It is the Quran. It is the focus on the Quran. Imam Ghazali, he says, there's one Quran you read every day, and there's one Quran you're reading for your whole life, and you should finish the whole Quran. I mean, he has many interesting books on Quran, and many interesting commentary on Quran. And so Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, he used to be, you know what Imam Ibn Taymiyyah used to be called? Tarjuman al-Quran. He's the one who explains the Quran. And one of his great students created one of the best tafsirs, Imam Ibn Kathir. And I think Kitab al-Fawaid of Imam Ibn Qayyim is also a great book of tafsir. Even though it's a small book, but I mean, and so the point is, these what was it that allowed them to merge both, to become Salafi Sufi? It was the Quran. It was the Quran. And this is where, from Shariullah to Iqbal, Muhammad Iqbal, to Dr. Isra Ahmed, this is what even from the influence of who? From the influence of Sheikh Ahmed Sarhandi, you have the book written by Sayyid Nursi, the great scholar of Turkey, The Supreme Sign, in which he talks about this exact issue, that, Tasawwuf didn't do it for him, fiqh didn't do it for him, but the Quran merged these for him. This was the great supreme sign. This is the book that solved his problems. And this is a big part of what Sayyid Nursi has promoted and pushed. And this is exactly what, that main part, that main focus on the Quran, that merges both action and iman. Action, the outside, merging these two. So please don't fall for the hoax of and the illusion of the Salafi Sufi divide. Please don't. And share this with other people, and then drink from all wells. You won't know where you're standing till you listen to others. If you are a Sufi and you never heard a Salafi, look, spend some time with the Salafi brothers. If you're a Salafi brother and you've never spent time with the Sufis, go spend time with them. You might find out they're not very different from you. But if you're not even going to spend time with them and just keep judging them because of what you're reading or hearing from your Shiekh, and you're saying only I will listen to this Sheikh, then that's just, you're locked yourself up. Anyway, I will end here. I have spoken too much. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.